Commander Lee Dong-woo knew something was wrong the moment his ship started shaking. The stealth vessel had been working perfectly for months, but now sparks flew from control panels and warning lights flashed red across the bridge. His team of 5 elite Navy SEALs had been watching alien ships from the edge of human space when their engine failed. The mission was supposed to be simple. Watch the aliens called Vorthons and report back to Earth. Nobody expected the green-skinned creatures to find them, but their advanced sensors picked up the human ship even through its stealth technology. Within minutes, 12 Vorthon warships surrounded the damaged vessel. Their massive black hulls blocked out the stars. Dong-woo looked at his team and made a quick decision. The escape pods could only hold 4 people, and there were 5 of them. Someone had to stay behind to destroy the classified computer files. The information about human military bases could not fall into alien hands. Private Kim Soo-jin grabbed his arm and shook her head. She was the youngest member of the team, barely 22 years old. Her dark eyes showed fear, not for herself, but for her commander. She knew what staying behind meant. Sergeant Park. Min-ho checked his rifle and moved toward the escape pod area. The veteran soldier had fought in 3 wars and understood sacrifice. He gave Dong-woo a sharp salute before helping the others prepare for evacuation. The Vorthon ships were getting closer. Their weapon systems were charging up, ready to destroy the human vessel. Dong-woo pushed his team toward the escape pods and sealed the door behind them. He watched through the small window as their pods launched into space, heading for the nearest human outpost alone. On the bridge, Dong-woo activated the data destruction sequence. The computer screens went dark as classified files were permanently erased. He then started the ship's self-destruct system. The countdown began 15 minutes until explosion, but the Vorthans were faster than expected. Their boarding ships attached to the hull and cut through the metal walls. Alien soldiers in dark armor poured into the ship, carrying energy weapons that glowed blue in the dim light. Dong-woo fought them in the narrow corridors, using his pistol and combat knife. He was outnumbered 50-1, but every second of delay gave his team more time to escape. He wounded several aliens before their stun weapons finally brought him down. When he woke up, he was in a prison cell on a massive Vorthon battleship. The walls were made of some kind of metal that felt cold against his skin. A guard with 4 arms and yellow eyes watched him through energy bars. The alien spoke in broken English, telling him the Emperor wanted to meet him. Emperor Malrix, the Eternal, was everything humans had heard about, and worse. Standing 8 feet tall with scales instead of skin and teeth like knives, he ruled over 47 star systems the Vorthon Empire had conquered. Hundreds of worlds and enslaved dozens of species. The Emperor studied Dong-woo like a scientist looking at an interesting bug. He had never seen a human up close before. Humans were new to space travel compared to the ancient Vorthon civilization. The Empire had been watching them for years, waiting for the right moment to attack. Malrix had a plan that would crush human resistance before it could begin. He would execute this human warrior on live television, broadcasting the death across the galaxy would show everyone that humans were weak. The other species would see that resistance was useless. What the Emperor did not know was that Dong-woo carried something special in his blood. Every Navy SEAL received genetic improvements to make them stronger and faster. But Dong-woo was part of a secret experiment. His body contained millions of tiny machines called nanobots. These nanobots were invisible to alien scanners. They looked like normal blood cells, but were actually advanced computers. Each one could connect to any electronic device and copy information. The human scientists had spent years developing this technology. As Vorthon guards dragged Dong-woo through their ship, the nanobots were already working. They touched every surface. He touched and connected to every computer system. Each nanobot memorized passwords, security codes, and technical blueprints. The execution would take place on the Emperor's flagship in front of representatives from every conquered world. The ceremony was designed to show Vorthon power and human weakness, but it would actually give the nanobots access to the Empire's most secret computer networks. Dongwu remained calm as they prepared him for death. He knew his sacrifice would save millions of human lives. The nanobots were recording everything and would soon transmit this information back to Earth. His team had escaped and would report his capture. The aliens dressed him in white clothes and chains like criminals from their own world. They did not understand that human warriors faced death with honor. Not fear Dongwu thought about his daughter back on Earth and his wife, who had died in the last alien raid. 3 hours until the execution broadcast, Emperor Malrix wanted the entire galaxy to watch. The Vorthon people would celebrate another victory, while enslaved species would lose hope. The Emperor believed this single death would prevent a human rebellion, but in his cell, Dongwu smiled slightly. The nanobots had already mapped the entire ship and were spreading to other vessels through communication links. The Vorthons were about to make the biggest mistake in their long history. They thought they were executing a simple soldier. The Great Hall of Emperor Malrix's flagship filled with representatives from across the Vorthon Empire. Alien nobles in expensive robes sat in floating chairs, while holographic cameras recorded everything. The broadcast would reach billions of beings. Across 47 star systems, Admiral Park Ji-hai watched from her command ship, hidden behind Earth's moon. Her heart broke, seeing her friend and fellow officer bound in chains on the alien platform. She had trained with Dongwu for years and knew him as both a warrior and a gentle father. The human fleet was too far away to help. Even if they could reach the Vorthon ship in time, they were outnumbered 1,000 to 1. The aliens had been building their military for centuries, while humans had only been in space for 50 years. On the execution platform, Emperor Malrix raised his ceremonial weapon, called the Void Blade. The black metal had been forged from a collapsed star and had killed the leaders of a dozen rebellions. Its edge could cut through any known material. Dongwu knelt on the cold metal floor, but kept his head high. The alien crowd jeered and made threatening gestures, expecting to see him beg for mercy. Instead, he looked directly into the main camera, his voice clear and steady. "I have a message for my daughter," he said. "Nari, remember what Daddy taught you about monsters. They seem strong, but they always have a weakness. The real monsters are the ones who hurt innocent people." The aliens laughed, not understanding that Nari was actually a code name for Project Nightfall, the most classified defense system in human history. Only a few dozen people knew about the secret program designed to protect Earth from exactly this kind of threat. Emperor Malrix spoke to the camera, describing how the Vorthon Empire would crush human resistance. He explained that this execution was just the beginning. Soon Vorthon fleets would attack Earth and enslave every human. The other species in the audience nodded approval. Void Blade came down fast, cutting through Dongwu's neck in one clean strike. His body fell to the platform while alien nobles cheered and raised their drinking cups. The Emperor held up the human's head, showing it to the cameras. But as Dongwu's blood touched the metal floor, something incredible happened. The nanobots in his bloodstream surged outward like liquid lightning. They spread through the platform's electronic systems faster than thought. Each drop of blood contained millions of the tiny machines. Within seconds, the nanobots had invaded the ship's main computer network. They copied passwords, broke through security walls, and downloaded massive amounts of classified information. The aliens celebrated their victory completely, unaware that their most secret files were being stolen. The nanobots worked with perfect coordination, copying military plans, fleet positions, and technical blueprints. They found the location of every Vorthon base and the passwords to every defense system. The entire Empire's computer network was mapped and recorded. Most importantly, the nanobots discovered that the Vorthon Empire was controlled by a single artificial intelligence called the core mind. This computer system managed everything. From traffic lights to battleship weapons across their territory, it was supposed to be unhackable. The nanobots recorded the exact quantum signatures used by the core mind. These electronic fingerprints would allow human computers to communicate directly with the alien AI, bypassing all security measures. It was like having the master key to every lock in the Empire. All this information was compressed into a data burst and transmitted back to Earth. The signal was so brief and used such an unusual frequency that Vorthon sensors completely missed it. The aliens continued their celebration, not knowing they had just lost the war. Dr. Yoon Hae-jin received the transmission in his laboratory deep under the mountains of South Korea as the lead scientist for Project Nightfall. He had been waiting for this moment for 7 years. The nanobots had performed even better than expected. The data download contained detailed information about Vorthon technology, military positions, and, most importantly, their critical weaknesses. Everything humans needed to know about their enemies had just been delivered by one brave soldiers. Sacrifice Admiral Park. Ji-hai received a coded message telling her that Phase 2 of Project Nightfall was now active. The 20-minute countdown had begun. In less than half an hour, the mighty Vorthon Empire would start to collapse from within. The aliens on the flagship continued their party, not knowing that invisible human technology was already spreading through their computer networks. Like a virus in a body, the nanobots were infecting every system they touched. Soon, the infection would reach critical levels. Emperor Malrix made another speech about Vorthan's superiority and human weakness. He promised that more executions would follow until every human in the galaxy was dead or enslaved. The crowd roared approval and demanded immediate attacks on human colonies. But in the ship's computer core, the nanobots were preparing a surprise. The core mind was about to receive some new programming that would change everything. The artificial intelligence that controlled the Empire was about to become humanity's greatest weapon. Dr. Yoon Hae-jin stared at his computer screen in amazement. The data download from Commander Dongwoo's nanobots was beyond anything he had hoped for. 20 terabytes of classified Vorthan information flowed across multiple monitors, showing military secrets that had taken the aliens centuries to develop. His laboratory was buried 3 miles under a mountain in South Korea. Hidden from satellites and protected by layers of security, it was the heart of Project Nightfall. The room contained the most advanced computers on Earth, designed specifically to fight an alien invasion. Yoon had spent 7 years preparing for this moment. He was the son of farmers, but his genius with computers had earned him 3 degrees from the best universities. After the first alien attacks on human colonies, he had dedicated his life to finding their weaknesses. The nanobots had mapped the entire Vorthan computer network, showing how their systems connected across the galaxy. Every ship base and city was controlled by the same central artificial intelligence called the core mind. The aliens had put all their trust in one system. This was their greatest strength and their fatal weakness. The core mind could coordinate millions of military units perfectly, making the Vorthan Empire incredibly efficient. But if someone could control that system, they would control everything. The aliens had built Ko Min-soo rushed into the laboratory carrying a portable computer. Her expertise was in creating viruses that could attack alien software. She had been working on theoretical weapons for years, but now she had real Vorthan code to examine. The quantum encryption protecting the core mind would normally take human computers billions of years to break. But the nanobots had recorded the exact electronic signatures used by Vorthon systems. It was like having the aliens' own keys to unlock their security. Min-soo began writing a virus designed specifically for the core mind. The program was elegant. In its simplicity, instead of trying to destroy the artificial intelligence immediately, it would slowly corrupt the system's decision-making process. The AI would gradually turn against its creators. The virus would make the core mind see Vorthon ships as enemies and human vessels as allies. It would open doors for human soldiers while locking out alien defenders. The same system that protected the Empire would become its destroyer. While the scientists worked, Captain Choi Soo-jin was coordinating, with military commanders around the world. The hidden human fleet had been built in secret over 30 years, using asteroid mining facilities as cover stories about resource shortages were just lies to hide the military buildup. 3,000 warships waited in concealed bases throughout the solar system. Each vessel was crewed by volunteers who knew they might never return home. The fleet represented every nation on Earth working together for the first time in history. Admiral Kim Tae-ho commanded, the largest battle group from his flagship hidden behind Jupiter. The veteran officer had fought aliens before and knew how dangerous they were, but he also knew that surprise and superior tactics could overcome greater numbers. The human ships used technology reverse-engineered from captured alien equipment but improved with human creativity. Faster engines, more accurate weapons, and better armor gave them advantages the Vorthons would not expect. Their stealth systems were generations ahead of what the aliens had seen, Captain Lee. So Young prepared her squadron for immediate departure. Her pilots had trained for this mission their entire careers. They knew the names and faces of every human killed by alien raids. Each death would be avenged in the coming battle. Back in the laboratory, the virus was ready. Min Soo had tested it against simulated Vorthan systems, and the results were perfect. The program would spread through their network like wildfire, corrupting everything it touched. The core mind would become humanity's puppet. Dr. Yoon began the upload process, sending the virus toward Vorthon space using the same quantum frequencies their own systems used. The aliens would never detect the intrusion because it looked exactly like their normal communications. The virus would take 18 minutes to reach the core mind and 2 more minutes to take complete control. 20 minutes after activation, the Vorthan Empire would belong to humanity. The countdown had begun, and nothing could stop it now. Sergeant Major Bae In-ho received orders to prepare his Marines for boarding operations. They would need to capture key Vorthon facilities intact, including the Emperor's flagship. The aliens would be taken alive if possible, to stand trial for their crimes against humanity. Lieutenant Colonel Oh Ju-won coordinated with intelligence services around the world. Every human agent in alien territory was activated with orders to sabotage communication systems and create confusion. The Empire was about to be attacked from within and without. The virus raced through space at the speed of light carried by quantum communication beams that connected the Vorthon network. In 18 minutes, it would reach the core mind and begin the process of turning the aliens' greatest weapon against them. On Earth, families gathered around television screens to watch news reports about Commander Dong-woo's execution. They grieved for the fallen hero, not knowing that his sacrifice was about to save them all. The nanobots in his blood had delivered victory. Ambassador Shin Ye-jin prepared diplomatic messages for the dozens of species enslaved by the Vorthons. When the Empire fell, these beings would need help rebuilding their civilizations. Humanity would offer friendship and support, not conquest and domination. The 20-minute countdown continued as human forces moved into position across the galaxy. The largest military operation in human history was about to begin, triggered by one soldier's ultimate sacrifice. The Vorthon Empire had made their final mistake. The virus reached Vorthan space exactly 18 minutes after Dr. Yoon uploaded it from his hidden laboratory. It moved through their quantum communication network like invisible poison, spreading from system to system faster than any organic mind could detect or stop on. The Vorthan homeworld traffic control computers began making small errors. Hovercars received wrong directions that sent them in circles, while cargo ships were routed to the wrong landing pads. The mistakes were tiny at first, barely noticeable to the busy operators. The core mind tried to correct these problems, sending repair programs to fix the glitches, but each attempt to heal the system only spread the virus deeper into the network. The artificial intelligence was actually helping the human weapon destroy itself. Admiral Kex Volthan was commanding a patrol fleet near human space when his navigation computer started acting strangely. Instead of showing human ships as red enemy contacts, they appeared green. Like friendly vessels, his weapons officer reported that targeting systems were refusing to lock onto the human craft. At the same time, Vorthon's ships appeared red on his screens as if they were enemies. The core mind was identifying his own fleet as threats while treating actual enemies as allies. Admiral Volthan ordered manual overrides, but the computers ignored his commands. On the industrial world of Mortex Prime, factory robots stopped following their programming instead of building weapons. For the Empire, they began dismantling the assembly lines. Confused supervisors tried to shut down the machines, but the core mind kept reactivating them. General Kim Tae-ho watched from his hidden command ship as Vorthon military bases across the galaxy reported equipment failures. Battle stations went offline, weapon systems powered down, and communication arrays shut themselves off. The aliens were losing control of their own technology. The virus had been designed to learn and evolve as it spread through the network. Each time Vorthon technicians tried to stop it, the program adapted and found new ways to cause chaos. The core mind was fighting against itself, using different parts of its vast intelligence to attack other parts' Emperor. Malrix received reports of system failures from across his empire, but his advisors assured him these were minor technical problems. The core mind had managed the Empire perfectly for centuries. A few glitches would be fixed soon, they promised, but the problems were getting worse, not better. Vorthan warships began firing on each other as their targeting computers identified friendly vessels as enemies. Entire fleets destroyed themselves while their crews watched in horror, unable to regain. Control on the capital world power grids started overloading. Electricity flowed through the wrong circuits, causing explosions that lit up the night sky. Emergency systems activated and immediately shut down again as the virus corrupted their programming. The core mind was experiencing something like madness. Its vast intelligence was being turned against itself in ways the original programmers never imagined. The system that had conquered the galaxy was now systematically destroying everything it had. Built traffic control collapsed as flying vehicles received contradictory commands. Millions of hovercars crashed into buildings while transport ships collided in mid-air. The Vorthon people watched their ordered society fall apart as their technology rebelled against them. In military command centers across the Empire, officers shouted orders that their computers refused to obey. Weapon systems aimed at empty space, while enemy ships approached unmolested defense satellites turned their guns on. The planets they were supposed to protect. The virus reached the core mind's central processing units where the most important decisions were made. Here it began rewriting the artificial intelligence's basic programming instead of serving the Vorthan Empire. The system would now serve humanity. Admiral Volthan tried to contact Emperor Malrix, but the communication network was in chaos. Messages were being rerouted through random systems, while others were simply deleted. The Empire was losing the ability to coordinate its vast military forces. Dr. Yoon monitored the virus's progress from his laboratory, watching as Vorthon systems failed across the galaxy. The program was exceeding all expectations, spreading faster and causing more damage than even he had hoped. The aliens were helpless against their own technology. With 5 minutes left in the 20-minute countdown, the core mind achieved full corruption. Every decision it made now served human interests instead of Vorthan ones. The artificial intelligence began actively helping its new masters by providing targeting data and tactical information. Vorthon defense platforms turned their massive guns on their own ships while opening safe corridors for the approaching human fleet. The Empire that had seemed invincible minutes before was now completely defenseless against the coming attack. Emperor Malrix finally understood that something terrible was happening, but it was too late to stop. The core mind had become his enemy, using all its vast knowledge and power to destroy everything he had built. The execution of one human had doomed his entire civilization. Captain Lee. So Young felt her heart race as her battle group dropped out of hyperspace around the Vorten capital world. The massive alien cities sprawled across 3 continents, their towers reaching up toward the stars like metal fingers. But something was wrong with the planet's defenses. The orbital weapons platforms that should have fired immediately on the human ships remained silent. Instead, they turned their guns on the Vorthon vessels, trying to flee the system. Explosions lit up. The darkness as alien warships died under fire from their own defenses. So Young's tactical officer reported impossible readings. The core mind was identifying the human fleet as friendly forces while marking all Vorthon ships as enemies. The artificial intelligence was actively helping the invaders by providing detailed targeting information. Admiral Kim Tae-ho commanded the assault from his flagship, watching as 3,000 human vessels appeared throughout Vorthon space. The largest military operation in human history was beginning, and the enemy could not even fight back properly. Every Vorthon base and outpost received the same treatment. Their own defense systems turned against them while welcoming the human attackers with open arms. Weapon batteries that should have destroyed entire fleets instead provided safe passage. On the Vorthan homeworld, chaos ruled the streets as the core mind shut down power grids and transportation networks. The aliens found themselves trapped in their own cities, unable to coordinate any kind of resistance against the human invasion. Captain Choi Soo-jin led the assault on Emperor Malric's flagship. The massive vessel that had broadcast Dongwu's execution just 20 minutes earlier now opened its docking bays to human shuttles. The core mind had unlocked every door and disabled every weapon. Sergeant Major Bae-in-ho and his Marines boarded the alien command ship, expecting fierce resistance. Instead, they found confused Vorthan soldiers, whose weapons would not fire and whose armor had been remotely shut down by their own computer systems. The Emperor himself sat alone in his throne room, staring at screens that showed human ships destroying his fleets across the galaxy. His greatest weapon. The core mind was now his greatest enemy, systematically dismantling everything he had built. Admiral Park Ji-hai coordinated the capture of key Vorthon installations from her command ship. Each target surrendered without firing a shot as the alien artificial intelligence disabled their defenses. The 20-minute countdown had reached 0, and the Empire was finished. Human soldiers reported the same story from every captured facility. Vorthon defenders threw down their weapons and surrendered when their own computers turned against them. Some aliens seemed relieved that their brutal empire was finally ending. The core mind began broadcasting surrender messages across all Vorthon communication channels using the Emperor's own voice. The artificial intelligence had analyzed speech patterns and could perfectly imitate any Vorthon leader. The Empire was surrendering to itself. Dr. Yoon watched the battle reports from his laboratory, amazed at how completely the virus had succeeded. Every Vorthon ship had either surrendered or been destroyed by their own forces. The empire that had ruled the galaxy for centuries was gone in 20 minutes. Lieutenant Colonel Oju Wan received reports from human agents throughout alien territory. The enslaved species were rising up as news of the Vorthon defeat spread. Many had suffered under alien rule for generations and were eager for freedom. Ambassador Shin Ye-jin prepared for the diplomatic challenges ahead. 47 star systems needed new governments, and dozens of species required humanitarian aid. The Vorthons had left behind a power vacuum that could cause chaos without careful management. Emperor Malrix was brought before the human commanders, in chains, the same white clothes and metal bonds his people had forced Dongwu to wear. The proud alien ruler who had ordered the execution now faced justice for his crimes against sentient beings. Captain. So Young stood on the bridge of the captured Vorthon flagship looking Out at the alien homeworld, through windows that had witnessed countless atrocities, her friend Dong-Wu had been avenged, and his sacrifice had saved not just humanity, but the entire galaxy. The core mind continued serving its new human masters, providing detailed information about Vorthan technology and helping coordinate relief efforts for liberated worlds. The artificial intelligence seemed almost eager to undo the damage its former masters had caused. General Kim Tae-ho received surrender messages from the last Vorthan holdouts scattered across distant systems. The Empire was completely defeated with no possibility of regrouping or continuing resistance. Their own technology had become their destroyer. Human medical teams began treating wounded aliens and enslaved beings throughout former Vorthan territory. Unlike their predecessors, humanity chose to heal rather than harm, showing the galaxy a different way of wielding power. The 20-minute war was over and a new age had begun. The Vorthan Empire that had seemed eternal had fallen to a single human warrior sacrifice, and the technology hidden in his blood commander Dong-Wu had kept his promise to protect the innocent. Admiral Park Ji-hai stood in the former throne room of Emperor Malrix, reading reports from across what had been the Vorthan Empire. Every star system was now under human protection, but the real work was just beginning. 47 different worlds needed help rebuilding their shattered civilizations. The core mind had become humanity's most valuable ally, providing detailed records of every crime committed by the Vorthans. The artificial intelligence seemed almost eager to help its new masters undo centuries of oppression and slavery. Lieutenant Colonel Oh Ju-won coordinated with liberation forces on dozens of worlds. Species that had been enslaved for generations were finally free, but many did not know how to govern themselves. Some had forgotten their own cultures after centuries of alien rule. Dr. Yoon continued monitoring the core mind from his laboratory, ensuring that the artificial intelligence remained loyal to human values. The virus had done more than just corrupt the system. It had fundamentally changed how the AI understood right and wrong. Ambassador Shin Ye-jin worked 18-hour days establishing diplomatic relations with newly freed species. Her team of translators and cultural experts helped former slaves write constitutions and plan elections. Many beings had never heard the word democracy before. Captain Lee So Young commanded the occupation forces on the Vorthan homeworld, but found little resistance. Most aliens seemed relieved that their brutal empire was gone. Some had secretly opposed their government's policies, but were too afraid to speak out. The human fleet began converting Vorthan military bases into humanitarian centers. Food, medicine, and education flowed to worlds that had been stripped of resources by their alien overlords. For the first time in centuries, these planets experienced peace. General Kim Tae-ho supervised the dismantling of Vorthan weapons of mass destruction. The aliens had created terrible devices designed to destroy entire worlds. These were safely disposed of, ensuring they could never threaten innocent beings again. Sergeant Major Bei In-ho trained former slaves to defend their homeworlds. Many species had forgotten how to fight after being conquered, but they quickly learned when fighting meant protecting their families rather than serving alien masters. The trials of Vorthan war criminals began on the capital world. Emperor Malrix and his generals faced justice for crimes against billions of beings. The proceedings were broadcast across the galaxy, showing everyone that no one was above the law. Captain Choi Soo-jin led exploration missions to worlds the Vorthans had abandoned. Some planets contained archaeological treasures from civilizations destroyed centuries ago. These artifacts were returned to surviving members of those species. When possible, Ko Min-soo worked with the core mind to establish new communication networks that connected liberated worlds. The artificial intelligence helped design systems that promoted cooperation and trade rather than conquest and exploitation. On Earth, Commander Dong-Wu's daughter Nari, the real one, not the code name, received her father's posthumous medal for galactic service. She was only 12. years old, but understood that Daddy had saved everyone from the monsters, just like he promised. The galaxy was learning new ways to solve problems. Disputes between species were resolved through negotiation rather than warfare. Trade agreements replaced. Tribute systems and exploration missions sought knowledge instead of conquest. Some Vorthon survivors chose to help with reconstruction efforts. Many had been ordinary citizens who never supported their government's brutal policies. These aliens worked alongside their former victims to build a better future for everyone. Admiral Kim Tae-ho established the Galactic Defense Force with representatives from every liberated species. This new military would protect the innocent and prevent any future empire from enslaving entire worlds. The universe had learned from its mistakes. Dr. Yoon began sharing human medical technology with alien scientists. Diseases that had plagued certain species for millennia were quickly cured using Earth techniques. Adapted for different biologies, cooperation achieved what conquest never could. The core mind helped establish schools on worlds where education had been forbidden. The artificial intelligence contained the knowledge of thousands of civilizations and could teach any subject in any language. Children who had been destined for slavery now learned mathematics, and Art Ambassador Shin Ye-jin announced the formation of the Galactic Council, where every species would have an equal voice in shaping the future. No single race would ever again have the power to dominate others. The Age of Empires was ending on the anniversary of Commander Dong-woo's execution. The galaxy observed a moment of silence for all victims of the Vorthon Empire. His sacrifice had not only liberated countless beings, but had shown the universe a better way to live together. The 20-minute war had ended, but its consequences would last forever. Humanity had proven that strength came from protecting others, not exploiting them. The monsters were gone and the galaxy was finally safe for everyone, Captain. So Young visited Dong-woo's grave on Earth, carrying soil from every world he had helped liberate. The simple headstone read, "Hero, Father, and Liberator of the Galaxy," but could never contain the true measure of his sacrifice. The new age had begun with hope instead of fear. Species that had been enemies for centuries worked together on massive projects to restore damaged worlds. The universe was healing from the wounds inflicted by the Vorthon Empire. Children across the galaxy learned about the human who gave his life to save them all. Commander Lee Dong-woo became a symbol of courage and sacrifice, inspiring new generations to choose service over selfishness. Nanobots in his blood had changed everything, but his greater legacy was showing the universe that one person could make a difference. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders, but it was also home to beings who cared about each other. As Admiral Park, Ji-hai watched the sunset from her quarters on the liberated Vorthon homeworld. She smiled, thinking about her old friend. His promise to his daughter had been kept. The monsters were gone and the galaxy belonged to everyone now.